They called her a saint. They called her a savior. But to tens of thousands of families ripped from their homes, she was a nightmare in royal silk. She wasn't just a queen. She was a woman who reshaped a kingdom through ruthless conviction. Isabella of Castile co-launched the Spanish Inquisition and ordered the expulsion of all Jews from Spain, changing the lives of millions and staining her reign with blood. Subscribe to UTAK Diaries, where we dig up the darkest truths hidden beneath the crown. Born in 1451 in Madrigal de las Altas Torres, Isabella was the daughter of King John II of Castile. From the very beginning, her life was steeped in court politics. Her older brother, Henry IV, was king, and as a younger female heir, Isabella was treated like a political pawn, raised in their seclusion, away from the main court. But even in obscurity, Isabella showed signs of fierce intelligence, devotion, and quiet determination. By her teenage years, she was already refusing arranged marriages she deemed unworthy, even under pressure from the crown. Her most defining move came at 18. She secretly married Ferdinand of Aragon, a bold act of rebellion against her brother. This wasn't just romantic defiance, it was a strategic power play. Together, they would one day unite their kingdoms and rule all of Spain. Isabella and Ferdinand ruled as equals, calling themselves the Catholic monarchs. Their rule would become known for centralization, discipline, and a zealous drive toward religious and political unity. But that unity came at a devastating cost. Before the Inquisition, Spain was one of the most religiously diverse regions in Europe. Christians, Muslims, and Jews lived side by side for centuries under Islamic and Christian rule. While tensions existed, there were periods of great tolerance and cultural flourishing, especially in cities like Toledo and Córdoba. Jews in particular had contributed immensely to Spanish society. As physicians, scholars, diplomats, and some had converted to Christianity over generations. These conversos were often wealthier and more educated than their neighbors, and this led to resentment. Accusations spread that these converts were secretly practicing Judaism, and this paranoia was fertile ground for something far more sinister. Isabella, deeply pious and influenced by her confessors, believed Spain needed one faith to be truly united. Her vision of a purified Catholic kingdom would not tolerate dual loyalties, and in 1478, she and Ferdinand requested and received papal permission to begin rooting out heresy. Thus began one of the darkest institutions in religious history, the Spanish Inquisition. The Inquisition wasn't just about rooting out non-believers, it was about enforcing ideological control. Under Isabella's rule, tribunals were established across Spain. Suspects could be arrested without warning, interrogated for weeks, tortured for confessions, and sentenced to death. Isabella herself didn't design the tortures, but she signed off on the system. She empowered it. Inquisitors like Tomás de Torquemada acted with royal blessing and were directly accountable to the monarchs. Trials were held in secrecy. Evidence was rarely shown to the accused. Even loyal Catholics lived in fear, afraid that an enemy could accuse them anonymously. Public burnings, called autos da, became theatrical spectacles of punishment. The message was clear: deviate from the crown's religion, and you would burn. Isabella maintained a serene image in portraits and public appearances, but behind the velvet robes was a queen who believed faith could be enforced by fear. In 1492, the same year Columbus sailed west, Isabella and Ferdinand issued the Edict of Expulsion. Every Jew in Spain had 4 months to convert or leave. No exceptions. More than 100,000 Jews were forced to flee. Thousands more died from starvation, shipwreck, or attacks during their exile. Their property was seized by the crown. Entire communities disappeared overnight. Some chose conversion to avoid exile, But even they weren't safe. The Inquisition now turned its gaze toward the new Christians, suspecting them of being false converts. The expulsion shattered Spain's economy and cultural diversity. But Isabella believed she was doing God's will. To her, Spain was finally cleansed, and in her eyes, that purity mattered more than coexistence, more than culture, more than compassion. While religious terror swept through her homeland, Isabella was also casting her gaze outward. She funded explorers like Christopher Columbus, seeking new Christian empires abroad. Her ambition reached across oceans, and with the colonization of the Americas, Spain became a global superpower. But that empire was built on conquest, exploitation, and the forced conversion of indigenous peoples. The same principles that justified the Inquisition in Spain followed the conquistadors abroad. Isabella had become the architect of an empire built on conversion or destruction. Her faith was sincere, but it demanded total submission. Isabella died in 1504, after a prolonged illness. She was buried in Granada, the final Muslim stronghold of Spain, which she and Ferdinand had conquered just a decade earlier. Her tomb rests beside Ferdinand's, a monument to a dynasty that changed the world. Some remember her as a national hero. She was canonized for sainthood. She reformed corrupt nobility, expanded education, and brought stability. But others see the blood beneath the throne. The exiles, the executions, the fear. The Spanish Inquisition continued for centuries after her death. The trauma she unleashed remained embedded in Europe's psyche, and for Jewish and Muslim families, her name became synonymous with loss. Today, Isabella remains one of the most controversial monarchs in history, a ruler of immense power, vision, and conviction, but one who used that power to silence, exile, and erase. She unified Spain. She birthed an empire, but she also lit a fire that burned across generations. Isabella of Castile believed she was chosen by God, but millions paid the price for her faith. This is UTAK Diaries, where history doesn't whisper. It commands. Subscribe for more stories of the people who built and broke the world.